Who are we? First of all, Tribune Broadcasting is not a household name. It's not someone you'd recognize, but we have stations all around the country, including some out here on the West Coast. And essentially, we create local news, content, sports, weather, entertainment, and our job is to get it out to you in a way that's relevant to you and also to the advertisers who underwrite it. So one thing that helps is we have content that ranges the gamut, anywhere from today's weather forecast to a great caught on tape moment. But we can't always count on those. So what we look for are the nuggets of stories that really begin as a local news story, part of your 10 or 11 o'clock news, but can take on a life of their own. And these were just two examples from the last 6 months that jumped out at me. One was in Sacramento, not too far from here, where outside of a Walmart, someone discovered a book in which a young child had written all kinds of rules like, after you've been told no, don't keep saying please, 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 and asking again. So there was all these little cute aphorisms of how to live life, and it was found abandoned in a Walmart parking lot. And that story took on a life of its own and got millions of shares around the web. New York City got a tip at our station there. Some of the people at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade found confidential police records and terrorism investigations in the confetti that was being rained down on the parade. So these are stories that, a few years ago wouldn't have had much shelf life beyond the 10 or 11 o'clock news, but thanks to social, thanks to digital, thanks to that footprint, really get far beyond a local TV station website. You see in the metrics, in the audience traction, that these take on a life of their own. So we wanted to say, how do we replicate that? How do we give a push to content that may not be that great? As part of the who we are, I think we enjoy a slightly higher than average bit of referral traffic from Facebook. Our direct traffic is about 28%. Facebook is about 15%. So we have a healthy following of people, not necessarily coming from our pages or things that we're pushing out there, but coming from shares, coming from people who serendipitously come across a story or, as many times the case is, see it on television, then go share it with a friend afterwards saying, you got to check this out. I was making my coffee, 7 o'clock news. I saw this great story, and pass it along. So this is the basis that we started our experiment with. The other backstory and piece of context that's important to know is we redesigned and relaunched our websites last fall, October and November, to basically embrace the fact, as you heard earlier today, the panelists who say, if you're not thinking about mobile, you're doing it wrong. We had, as many of you do, as many newspapers do today, and TV stations for that matter, classic sites that got squeezed down to micro size on a phone, or a bad WAP site when someone emails or shares the link. You all know it. You might end up at a dead end or page not found if you go to it on a smartphone. So we followed the example blazed probably, 2.5 years ago now by the Boston Globe. Went to a fully responsive design, built it out on WordPress, and really tried to put a focus on local content. So to actually help our strategy in a number of ways, we got rid of national sports tickers. We got rid of the national and international news wires. We took all the things that were commodity information, frankly, even the temperature outside right now, and figured people have other places they're already trained to go to get to and find that. Let's showcase the stories that you're not going to find elsewhere, and let's do it in a way that really emphasizes who's telling that story. If there's a big pileup on the expressway and 10 different news organizations are covering it, maybe you'll choose ours because of who's telling that story. So the program we're going to talk about today, we rolled out in conjunction, actually shortly after the relaunch of our websites, to be a more device-agnostic, content-first mentality that was just less cluttered and really put an emphasis on the community and on sharing. A few elements of the new sites we built in partnership with Perfect Market. We use a product called Perfect Ads that optimizes the AdSense on the page to be relevant to the story. So if you are reading, a story about a chef, a Los Angeles celebrity chef, you should be seeing advertising that's somehow related to that story, not just the car dealer who happens to be partnered with KTLA and advertising on that TV station. So this is actually the genesis of our partnership, which is probably 4.5, maybe 5 years with Perfect Market now. We looked at our newspaper archives at Tribune Company and said, if someone's going into Google and looking for a Thanksgiving dinner recipe and they come to the LA Times to find it, we're probably not going to recirculate them to the top State House story or the top Washington story on the LA Times. But if we can point them to other recipes similar to the thing they were looking for, we're likely going to get that next click rather than, as we all have, just hit the back button, go to Google, look at link 3, go to look at link 4, look at link 5. When you're on a mission doing product reviews or a recipe or something else, you know the routine. It's you dip in, you glance, you dip out, back and forth. So all these products are really designed to keep people on the site and drive engagement. Perfect links are kind of stories you may also like or editors picks. Again, really targeted with algorithms that Jay and his team have written that say, are you coming in from social? Are you coming in from search? What keyword did you use? Do you look like someone who's a Lakers fan? Do you look like someone who's a parent? And all these different elements on the page, including the last one there below the video player, which is going to be the focus of our case study, the kind of better than a like button call to action. All of these elements highlighted in orange are really designed to personalize the experience. And that's what we want to do. That's our goal at the end of the day is on TV, we're limited. KTLA sends out one signal to all of Los Angeles, and it's a great product. We're very proud of it, but it is broadcasting by definition, one product to the whole city. What Perfect Market is helping us do is really personalize and tailor that experience. So if you're following a link from a friend, if you're a loyal user who bookmarks KTLA or has us as your homepage, no matter the case, we can tailor more and more of that page to be for you than to look the same to everyone who's in the room. So we picked KTLA for the pilot of this social experiment because it's one of our largest sites. It is our largest site in our network. They have very shareable content, a lot of celebrity news, entertainment news, Hollywood gossip, things that just, it's the internet. It takes on a life of its own. And the audience, being in a big market like Los Angeles, they're rather tech savvy. Folks get it, and they're not going to be so intimidated or spooked by click this button and we'll tell you which of your friends may like the video you just watched. If we tried that in a smaller market, we might not have the adoption that we enjoyed in LA. So that's where we were, I think, probably in October, November, when we started this beta project and said, let's try and improve the way we invite people to share content on KTLA. You take it from there.
Sure. So one of the really interesting things about the situation as we started to look at it was just the split between where users are spending their time. Are they spending time on news sites? Are they spending time on Facebook, Twitter, other social media sites? And that difference in the amount of time spent per user was really the driver of this. It's like if we could get the content into the hands of the users where they're spending their time, which is on Facebook and other places like that, then we can attract more audience to the site. And so that was really the challenge that I think we were set up with.
Yeah, and that's part of our redesign was we admitted that we're going to have a lot better luck putting our content out there into a larger ocean and helping people discover it than having contests and sweepstakes and the typical TV tricks to get people to come visit a TV station website. It's better to let the content go out and stand on its own. The ticker tape parade story, the book of kids' rules lost in the Walmart parking lot, those got millions of shares not because of the brand, not because of who told the story, but just because it was good content that resonated with people. So that's exactly right.
So in thinking this through, we're trying to figure out what could we do to make a more effective share. And we were talking about this before the panel today, and we came up with this sort of lost cat analogy. Which do you think is going to be more effective? You go put a sign on a telephone pole and hope someone notices it, or you call up all the people in your neighborhood who have cats and who live next door to you and ask them for help. The one-to-one connection that you can make with people when you are specifically talking to them and you know a little bit about them and why they might be interested, it tends to be more effective. You can walk past this lost cat sign and never even notice it. So the putting up a sign, we sort of compare to just clicking that like button and blasting the link that you're viewing to all of your followers. It's sort of, interesting. Maybe some of them will notice it. Maybe Facebook will filter it out. Maybe they won't. And you'll get a certain amount of traction from that. But if we could encourage people to reach out specifically to the people that they think would be interested in a piece of content, our anticipation was that the engagement rate would really go up. And that's what we've achieved. So just in terms of background on Perfect Market, we do a lot with semantic analysis. We were able to read a page in real time, figure out what it's about, and we use that understanding of a piece of content, and a site like KTLA might have millions of pieces of content. We use that understanding of the specific piece of content to then help ad networks monetize the content better because they have a richer description of what the content's about, to help attract more users from search engines because the content is clearly labeled and optimized for the engines. And then with Perfect Social, we're using the data about the content to then help to target the sharing on Facebook and make it more effective. So this story about the LA restaurateur who runs a sort of king of sushi down in LA, Nobu, might have different words associated with it for different purposes. In Google, maybe we want to optimize for his name. For ad networks, we might want to pick up on more commercial themes like culinary school and fine dining experiences when we're looking for advertising. And for social, we might want to look at what are those pages out on Facebook that are really the most popular that would indicate someone's interest in this content. So each of those purposes results in a slightly different set of semantic analysis techniques that are going on under the hood. And by doing that very task-specific analysis, we're able to optimize the performance of each of those channels specifically. So let me just take a step back and talk a little bit about the tremendous amount of data that's available on Facebook. This is one of the developers on this tool, Perfect Social, Chris Germano. And look at all this data. He's about to meet Derek Jeter at Yankee Stadium. He checked in there. He's got all of these different friends who have their own interests. He's liked a bunch of pages on Facebook and other pages that he's read. We can infer a lot about what Chris would be interested in just from the data that's available in his profile. And so if we can get access to that data, then we might be able to target content to him.
I think that's the takeaway, even beyond this product and beyond this case study, more broadly as we walk through what we built and or what Perfect Market built and how Tribune is using it. Think about that last slide, the slide of everything that's out there, and what could you do with your brand, with your company, with your product, with everything that's available to you. When you start thinking through the possibilities, it's an embarrassment of riches about the people who are engaging with your content. It's just how you harness it.
It's really interesting, especially these news sites have so many pieces of content with so many different topics. But then again, on Facebook, there are so many users out there who also express interest in all those different topics. Really, the task for us was to match those and figure out which of the people who've expressed an interest in the content in a topic, which pieces of content are going to really resonate with them. And as brands invest further in content in their marketing programs, it's the same type of opportunity. You don't want to necessarily send the same content to everyone. You want to be able to target that content to the folks that are going to be most likely to be interested in it. So we're thinking, how do we get this publisher content, in this case it's a story about the Yankees, to users on Facebook? Because the publisher website has a certain audience footprint, and that end user then reaches more people out on Facebook. So we thought, well, it's obvious. Use the reader's friends to get the content out. So if we know a little bit about the end user of the website and their friends, then maybe we could encourage them to share them with the most relevant people out there and get more traffic back to the website. So in this case, Chris has indicated that he likes the New York Yankees based on a number of different data points that we're able to gather from his profile. He might be interested in this story about the Yankees. So what do? So we read the content, we identify the relevant topics, in this case, the New York Yankees, Neil Diamond, and the Boston Red Sox, and then when a friend of Chris's is reading that story, we look for other folks who might be interested in similar topics. In this case, we can identify when Neil is reading the story about the Yankees that Chris likes the Yankees too, and he might enjoy the story. And so we can create an experience on the website that highlights that. It doesn't just say, hey, click like and recommend it to everybody, but these are the specific 10, 5, 10 people that are within your network right now that we think would really like this specific story. And so we're able to make it really easy for you to go in there and click on the faces of the folks that you want. There's an explanation of why we think they'll like it. It says here, Chris likes the New York Yankees. And you can write a little message that says, hey, check this out, and mention tag the person, which causes a bunch of downstream effects that we'll get into in a second. So let me just take you through sort of what this looks like in action. So here's a story on KTLA. It's about Disneyland and a few rides that were closed a few months ago now due to safety issues. So you read through the article, and you might not notice at first that it mentions all these specific rides, like the Matterhorn bobsled, Space Mountain, soaring over California. And actually, it's not just Disneyland that had these issues. It was also the Disney California Adventure theme park, which is down the street. So we're able to identify all those related topics out on Facebook, and we're able to identify the ones that have the most interest, the most likes, the most engagement, the most talking about metrics, so that those are going to be more likely to match more people and associate those pages with this piece of content. Then we're able to search through your friend list and find the people who like those topics. So in this case, my friend Jennifer here says she likes soaring over California. And so I can go in, I can click on her, mention tag her, say, oh no, your favorite ride is closed, hit share, and then on her page, she gets a notification. So not just a little post in a upper right-hand corner box on the page that's really easy to ignore, but an actual notification, which, depending on how she has her preferences set up, might mean she gets it on her cell phone or in email, in any number of ways that she's set up to get notifications through Facebook. So automatically we're going to reach her in a much more sort of engaging way than just the standard like button. And so this is what happens. The story appears on our wall with my little message, and she can click back from there, and folks can engage about it. And when they click back, when her friends see that this thing is posted on her wall, or when she sees it and she clicks back to ktla.com, we pop a promo and say, hey, if you got here because of this social sharing tool, if you want to experience this for yourself, go ahead and connect with us right now, and you can also benefit from it. So in this way, we're also taking the process of sharing and using it as a marketing tool to grow the user base for the sharing tool itself.
And that's a pretty heavy footprint for a promo if you look at it, and you may think, why as a publisher or as a news organization did we go with a promo that heavy? One thing we really wanted to do is distinguish what Jay just walked you through in that demo from the social readers that you've seen that go out and post embarrassing things your friends never thought it would be tattling on them for reading, right? Or this person just watched this video. This is not a passive tool that lurks in the background. It's saying, when you're reading content, if you want suggestions of, hey, I didn't know so-and-so was a fan of this music star or this celebrity I was reading an article about, if you want those helpful hints and if you want to be sort of a curator in your network, that's what we're appealing to them, of saying, you be the one to tell them, hey, I just learned about something about your school, or we're matching a story about Pasadena and it's about a tax increase and I'm reading it and it says, hey, your friend Jay lives in Pasadena, why don't you share it with him? we wanted to get out and we worked and A/B tested a lot of different copy for the screen to basically say this isn't something that's going to be spamming people. This is a tool to help empower you as a consumer to be a relevant curator of content with your friends.
Yeah, so instead of being pushed all sorts of content through a newsfeed algorithm that may or may not identify your relevant, the relevant attributes, instead it's relying on the people to make the decision about which of their friends are really going to be interested in this. So it's sort of a semi-automated approach instead of a fully automated one. We like it. It's been good. So you want to go through some of the results?
Sure. So probably not surprising, the kind of people who've opted in and installed that app and said, yes, I do want to know which of my friends would be interested in the content I'm reading, they're more engaged than the average user. These are people who are ambassadors for our content now, which is great. We saw shares per user, page views per share, time on site in the pool of people who are not only using this but then visiting and following those links and coming back, which is probably the bigger story, and what's perhaps more surprising is that not only the people doing the sharing, but the people whose walls they were writing on. Jennifer, the Disneyland fan in that example, is going to spend more time on that site because instead of a simple like in her stream, she saw that Jay took the time to write, "Oh no, your favorite ride is closed," and other people commented it when it was on her wall. She came back, spent time there. So it wasn't just the people sharing the content, but everyone they brought back to the site, we saw a really nice lift from. In fact, traffic nearly doubled if you compare the weeks prior to the engagement and after we put the widget on. This was going from your standard chicklet of including a like in the stripe with everything else, which is still there. We didn't take it out, but we added to it at the end of the story after the last sentence of the article or underneath the video player, this bar that either invites you to install the app, or if you have installed the app, says, here are people who may like the article. So a really healthy boost in referral traffics from Facebook coming into KTLA as our pilot site.
And we think a lot of this has to do with the higher engagement rates that we showed you on the previous slide, because we're moving that engagement rate component of EdgeRank up. The site essentially becomes louder as a publisher on Facebook.
So we rolled it out to the rest of our TV station websites, and the results are off to a great start. We're seeing good growth on all of them in terms of boost of Facebook referrals. And in that same time, Perfect Market has rolled it out to other publishers, both within Tribune and elsewhere on the web.
Yeah, so and we've seen varied results depending on the publisher that we've deployed it with. But the bottom line is all of them have seen a pretty significant increase in traffic as a result of this. And again, we think this is a result of us increasing the number of, or the engagement component of the EdgeRank equation. Because now we're able to target the content specifically to the end users who we think are going to be most interested in it. And we do it in a way that's highly noticeable. So you're more, because we mentioned tag the end user, you're getting those notifications, you see the content, you have a personalized note that goes with it, and you're much more likely to click through and engage. So we're hard at work expanding this. There's a number of ways that we've, we're very excited about all the data that's out there and the ways that we could use it to help our publisher customers. And you'll probably see a bunch of new features launch around this in the coming months. I thought it was it'd be good to put a picture of the team in there so you can see the folks actually behind this. We've got some of them in the room here with us today.
So what are some, beyond the fact that there's a lot of data there available to be tapped with products like this, what are some of the takeaways? The relevance really was one big one for us. That traffic growth didn't get manufactured overnight by accident. It's the fact that by encouraging and enabling our visitors, someone just browsing on a news site, to share in a way that was personalized and constructive, and it really was just us putting the hint in there, right? We're not forcing it on them. We're not putting big pop-ups that are super aggressive saying, hey, wait, before you leave this article, it's a ribbon at the bottom that has faces of people in your network, and as you mouse over those faces, it says they're showing up on this page because they like that page, they went to that school, they lived in this town. So all of the different metrics, likes, comments, shares, I mean, we've seen that go up because the shares are more relevant as a result of better hinting. It's just like better recommendations. If there's a most popular widget, that might get you so much lift on your site. But if you're saying other people like you read articles like this next, you're probably going to connect more with them, no matter how it's labeled or positioned, just by virtue of the quality of those recommendations. So relevance matters.
The second key takeaway that we took from this is that mention tags really help. So if you can figure out a way in your interactions with users on Facebook to either mention tag them in the specific posts that you put out on your pages, or have them use mention tags in the posts that they create for you in the comments that that they use. It really helps because every time one of those mention tags gets used, like I said before, the notifications happen in desktop app, on mobile if you have it configured that way. There'll be a little pop-up in the corner, and you might even get an email out of it. These are all different ways that you can end up really calling attention to the activity that you just encouraged. So I think it's a relatively underused feature of the Facebook platform that can really drive a lot of really good results in terms of engagement.
I know there are a lot of social media managers in the room. If you take off your brand hats and forget how many times in an hour or how many times since you've been in this room your brand's been mentioned on Twitter or mentioned on Facebook, the average consumer getting that, pop up on their iPhone or getting that email, it's a race. I mean, and frankly, Facebook has made it wonderfully vague, right? Jay Budzik tagged you in a post. What post? Why? What happened? And in that example about Disneyland, I mean, you're not going to feel duped or you're not going to feel misled. It's, okay, he thought I would like this article, and provided that the person sharing it with some good reason in mind, it's a satisfying circle. So again, for people who aren't bombarded by these constantly or turn them off, it's a very, it kind of shakes you by the shoulders and gets your attention, and that's, I think, part of what explains the great results.
So one of the downstream effects of using the mention tags is that you're really multiplying the visibility of any given post. So if I were just to share a piece of content on my account, I would reach my friends, and then they could reach theirs, and so on. But if the two of us are mentioned in the post, if I put something out and mention Jason or vice versa, now those numbers all multiply, and we're reaching a much broader audience as a result of combining those accounts in a single post. So it really can be powerful in terms of getting the word out.
A reason to share. That's what it comes down to. It's why take the time, why take the action, and if you're going to be an ambassador for this, if you're going to share it with your network, why not do it in a way that's personalized? So that's sort of our appeal. There is a hurdle. There is a barrier to entry. In order to do this, you have to authorize the social sharing app to have access to your data. You've got to opt in, and what we thought is showing people, teaching people, promoting what's possible would be a good way to get them involved. And we've seen in large and small markets good but varying levels of adoption. But that's the pitch to people: is it's not a gimmick. We're not selling you anything. We're not auto robo posting anything. It's a way to make you look better. And certainly the targeted promotions helped a great deal. We started slow, we started quiet, we didn't make a lot of noise about it, but as we started intercepting people coming from Facebook, obviously if you're being referred from someone sharing a link to one of our TV station news stories on Facebook, you're a Facebook user, you're sharing, you're being shared with. The more we promoted it to them and the louder we got, the more people obviously joined in the pilot and joined in the experiment. And
and this goes to just the overall message of targeting, right? So if you can identify segments of your audience that are going to be much more likely to engage with a product or engage with you socially, then being a little more forward with them about what you want them to do when they come to the site is acceptable. In this case, it's only around 15% of the traffic that sees this, those people who are coming from Facebook. So the rest of them don't need to get bothered by it. And so by really focusing on what's the specific use case where you want to do the promotion, you can do a lot, have a lot more impact, I think.
And that segmentation, I think, is key to what we're experimenting with Tribune, and probably what a lot of you are doing with A/B testing is someone coming in from search, someone coming in from social. Do you show them a different layout, right? So for the news industry, this is still pretty new to us. For those of you that are in e-commerce or conversion, you're testing your buy button, your subscribe button, the color of it, the placement of it. But for us, it's kind of radical to say, again, because we're broadcasters used to sending one signal out to many people, to work with Perfect Markets, an interesting opportunity to say, if you've come in through a Google search on Los Angeles traffic, should we show you an entirely different formatted page versus someone who's bookmarked KTLA traffic and wakes up to it every morning and watches our helicopter pilot on TV? So this segmentation is, it makes us, I think, more relevant in many ways than we can be on TV through that personalization. So we'd love your questions, ideas, feedback, and again, I hope if nothing else, it inspires you. What could you build, or what could you do with that treasure trove of data that's out there? If you've got people opting in, if you've got people opening and authorizing you to peek at their Open Graph, again, all the connections you can make from your content to their friends, their likes, their hometown, et cetera.
All right, then, hey, Jason, thanks so much. Appreciate it.